Thanks guys, thanks everyone for making the effort to get here today. Clearly, doping in sport, anti-doping is a really topical issue at the moment. Nicole, with the recent WADA report, with the whole situation with Russia specifically, do you see that situation as potentially the tip of the iceberg, or is that the crux of the matter? And secondly, most importantly, what's the best way to remedy the situation? Nice easy one to start with.
Yeah, the first one is easier to answer than the second one. I do actually think, I'm not sure I would call it the tip of the iceberg, but I think it's foolish to think that what we've seen happen in athletics, and if we're talking about corruption, therefore also in football, and it's starting to eke into professional tennis, there are different ways that you can cheat. Doping is just one of them. But no, I don't think this stops at those three sports doors at all. It's just a matter of time as to when the next sport or the next country is exposed. I think when you're looking at maybe corruption within an organisation, you're looking at really strong, transparent, good governance structures. And it's a cult. I think for me, it's a culture. It's engendering a culture, either within an organisation, within a sport, within a country, that cheating is fundamentally wrong. We all were brought up with values. There'll all be slightly different values, but I would, as a fair assessment, I think would be that we all know right from wrong. So it's about ensuring that when you're talking about sport and you're talking about athletes or the individuals around the athletes, that they understand and they're living the values of clean, pure, true sport.
So anti-doping is actually, corruption is the bigger issue in the sense that doping is part of that, and so you have to go across a whole different group of areas to kind of weed it out, especially. Somebody
compromising a game or losing a match deliberately is still cheating. They're cheating themselves, but they're cheating the spectators, they're cheating their sport, and doping is just one element of cheating. So I think when people bang on about doping being cheating, they forget that there's all different ways that you can cheat within sport, and that's just one of them.
Kelly, how did you feel?
Well, actually, I've got a perspective on something like what's happening in Russia. I don't think athletes grow up to intentionally cheat, and one of the things that Nicholas said is the people in the structure are probably more corrupt, and then they corrupt the athletes. And I imagine in a scenario like Russia, there's a lot of athletes, talented athletes, that their coaches, their support structure, the governance within their international federation, their national federation, they're told, if you don't cheat, then you're not going to be on the team. It's been seen in cycling. If you're not going to cheat, you're not on the team. So I don't think I think majority of athletes don't grow up, sports people don't grow up to be a cheat. They're coerced, or they're made to. With, a lot of these people come from poorer backgrounds, maybe, especially like Russian women. Russian men, they want to support their families and they have options. Do I not be a professional athlete? Do I cheat? Do I not support my family? Do I cheat? What do I do? Do I value my integrity? Or I've got to support my family, I have to cheat? So there's so many reasons, and I never had that thought when I was an athlete. I just thought a cheat's a cheat regardless. But you learn about these different cheats, and there's different reasons why people cheat, and then you put it in perspective. It's not necessarily the athlete's fault, however, obviously, the strict liability it is. However, I think there's a lot of coercion within structures that make them cheat.
And how do you think it's possible to protect athletes like that who are in what is essentially a corrupt regime? How is it possible to, it's a difficult question. But how is it possible to protect them?
It'll be interesting to see what happens this summer regarding Rio and Russia. Would that be a big enough deterrent for that country to ensure that their governance is properly sorted out? Russian government will have to sort that out. Are they corrupt? Are they sound governance? Are they, we have the Nolan principles here: honesty, transparency, integrity, fairness, all those kind of things. Do they apply those kind of principles to their governance and to their structure? Until they do that at the highest level, then maybe that's not going to change what's going to happen within the structures of national governing bodies of sport. I don't know. I don't think that question's answerable.
I think you've got to give athletes the wherewithal to direct their concerns, and if they can't direct them to their athlete support personnel, because they're the very people that are telling them to do what they're doing, that's wrong, then can they go to their governing body? Can they go to their international federation? Can they go to WADA? Can they go to the media? There are all different sorts of different outlets, but at the same time, a lot of athletes fear the repercussions of speaking out. And especially if you've got a very corrupt infrastructure around you, then maybe there's far more to lose than there is by speaking out, which is why they don't.
And there needs to be a forum really for them to be able to speak in that way. Which was the example of the Russians who did that, and it cost them a huge amount, didn't it? They had to flee the country effectively.
Well, yeah, of course they did. And the thing is that we don't hear enough clean voices either. So people who represent clean sport, you don't see them speaking up.
Yeah.
And that for me is just as bad as people who know there's corruption within sport speaking up. You need clean voices to speak up just as much as you do people. Well, I think what I'm trying to say is I voiced my opinion about a competitor. The following year, she was banned for life at the Olympics.
Yeah.
You know, that ruined my Olympic game for me because I was focused on her, and I caught her taking something, and I reported it. And you know, 3 days later, she's banned for life on her second offence. But then you have the now in the social media age. If you talk about it, then you're sour, or you have an opinion. If you're maybe a certain gender, you've got an opinion. You're a troublemaker, and those headlines and those tags have to be diminished. It's not nice being a spokesperson for clean sport, but we have to ensure that clean athletes feel comfortable enough to advocate clean sport.
And Kelly's spot on there. You have to applaud those athletes that will stand up and put their hands up and point the finger, because it's not comfortable for them to do. But it's the right thing to do, and you're absolutely right. Not enough athletes speak out, and there's nothing more frustrating from an anti-doping body's perspective to have athletes after the event go, yeah, well, I thought as much, or I'd seen some stuff. Well, why didn't you say something? Because you had the chance. You had the chance to try and right a wrong, but you chose not to. So does that make you effectively almost complicit in what that individual chose to do?